Welcome to Room Brothers to the next episode of our 𝗕𝗁 když''𝗁 restoration project. I hope you are safe and sound wherever you are. Let's talk about brakes. These are one of the easily neglected components on your machine, and in a country like India where the temperatures are harsh throughout the year, increasing the risk of brake failure on your machine is exponentially high. Not just cars or motorcycles, but any automobile on the road. As much as it's fun going from 0 to 100 on the road, you also need to have enough power which can bring you from 100 to 0 when necessary. Especially when the reaction time in these sudden braking movements are in milliseconds between a safe journey and an accident. Hence, the periodic maintenance of brakes is vital for safe and secure road journey. In this project that we are working on, you're gonna see 3 to 4 episodes specifically dedicated to brakes, where I'm going to show each process in detail, like how to service your brakes, how to repair, how to dismantle your entire brake system, and then how to rebuild them back, and then how to restore your brakes back to mint factory condition. These are not just play of words, rather each process is different from another. And to these new age social media influencers and content creators who are busy in motovlogging and creating cinematic videos, they don't understand these things. Most of them don't know what it means to be a true automotive enthusiast. So if you ever want to learn about brakes and work on your machine, then you don't want to miss these episodes and such informative channel. So subscribe and follow if you haven't yet. In these episodes, I'll be focusing on the mechanical side of brakes without involving the electronics like the ABS, traction control, so on, just to keep things easy even for a beginner. Most of these brake systems are similar in most of the machines that we see today, regardless of the cc or the category that your machine falls under. For example, a 250cc fully fed motorcycle brakes are not so different from a 450cc adventure tourer motorcycle. So the first step of keeping your brakes in good condition is to change the brake fluid at regular intervals, in technical terms known as brake bleeding. So we're going to bleed the brakes and then dismantle the brake system further step by step in this episode. And the fun part is I'm going to show how to do it in a simple way with basic tools sitting at your home with no fancy or costly equipment. So let's go. Here is the whole front brake setup. So let me give you some important components name, because I will be naming them all throughout this video to make the process easy and for you guys to understand the whole process of brake bleeding. Master cylinder, front brake lever. Here is the front brake caliper, front brake line, brake bleeding pipe, and the brake fluid container at the end. Here we are pumping the front brake to create enough pressure inside the system. Once it is created, we hold on to that pressure by holding on the brake lever right here as shown. Take the appropriate spanner, loosen the brake bleeding screw, and let the brake fluid flow. Simply as shown here. And we're gonna do this a couple of times until we drain the entire brake fluid. So we're gonna combine this a simple process and do it in real time. So let me show you how that goes. And while doing so, remember to top up the brake fluid into the brake reservoir. Let's open the brake reservoir and see the condition of the brake fluid before we begin. Wrap a cleaning cloth around these parts so that the brake fluid doesn't touch the paint. I see here the signs of moisture deposits, which means water has entered into the brake fluid system. And look at the state of the brake fluid, absolutely dreadful. So here we go. Pump the brake lever and hold on. Open the brake bleeding screw and let the brake fluid flow. And the immediate effect is the brake lever gets depressed as shown right here. Then hold on for a couple of seconds and close the brake bleeding valve. And we repeat this process a couple of times until the old brake fluid from the system gets drained out while the new brake fluid is being poured on top. Just make sure that you're topping up the reservoir with a fresh brake fluid. When you see the fresh brake fluid coming into the container, that's when you know you have drained all the old brake fluid from the system. And we do this to avoid air being trapped between the new and the old brake fluid. The reason I'm not showing here topping up with the new brake fluid is because we're gonna rebuild the whole front and rear brake systems, and that's gonna happen in the coming videos. Now once done correctly as shown, you will have a nice and firm brake lever. And just in a couple of minutes, the front brake bleeding is done, just like that. The old nasty brake fluid drained, and just have a look at it. I'm glad I'm rebuilding this brake system. As we are done with bleeding at the front, now let's dismantle and remove the front brake system. Front master cylinder, front brake hose pipe and the caliper are coming off. First, loosen the top banjo bolt. Be gentle and firm and don't slip any threads. Loosen the bottom banjo bolt. Have a container ready because any brake fluid left over in the brake hose pipe is gonna drain out. And again, don't let this stuff touch your painted parts as it causes damage. Now unscrew the couple of bolts which holds the brake hose pipe. Now while removing the banjo bolts of the front brake master cylinder, be gentle as there are copper washers there if you wish to reuse them. Brake hose pipe is out. Let's remove the front brake caliper. Loosen the two bolts that holds the front brake caliper. Give it a slight wiggle back and forth and remove the caliper, just like that. Now let's go to the rear brake system. So we're gonna follow the exact procedure as before. Pump the rear pedal to create pressure in the system and hold it there and don't let it go. Use this spanner and open the brake bleeding screw and let the brake fluid flow. Then hold on for a couple of seconds and then tighten it. And remember to top up the brake fluid. So remember the actions that I'm showing right here. Number 1, then number 2, and action number 3. Let's do this. Look how the brake pedal gets depressed even further each time the brake fluid comes out of the system. That's the sign that you are doing it the right way. Once done, you will have a nice and firm brake pedal with a strong brake bite. And just like that, in a couple of minutes, the rear brake bleeding is also done. And look at the condition of the brake fluid. Now let's start dismantling the rear brake system. Loosen these couple of bolts to remove the brake hose pipe and the rear master cylinder. Loosen the rear banjo bolt. Place a cleaning cloth or a rag to catch any leftover brake fluid. Be gentle and the rear master cylinder will come out just like a champ. Just for better showcasing purposes, I am removing the rear wheel to show you guys how to remove the rear caliper. The rear caliper usually hangs around on a bracket like this. You just have to push it out and remove it gently. As you guys have seen, the entire brake system is out, and in the coming episodes, we're gonna dismantle it even further, service, repair and restore each component. So I'll see you guys soon. Peace.